yes, he was there, but I'm saying maybe he did not have information more than what Mashaba and Nku had. So I'm saying if maybe the police were working, they tried to work with Mashaba and Nku, we're going to get more information.
There, I think you are correct, because based on the chats that we have been shown, these others interacted even before Mahano's involvement. At that level, I would agree with you. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Just ask the question, how is the failure to ask the question, who do these drugs belong to, how does it constitute defeating the ends of justice, your conclusion? Because ultimately that's what this is about. It's about certain conduct, and you say that conduct constitutes defeating the ends of justice. And now in your testimony, as you were speaking to the chair, you say they didn't, for example, they prevented them from asking the question, maybe they should have asked Jolene. You're surely not saying the failure to get that question asked is to defeat the ends of justice.
Okay. For them to fail to do proper investigation, I would say from where I'm sitting is like they were protecting the owner. They knew who the owner of the drugs was, but they didn't want, they wanted somebody to be blamed because now these four disturbed this smooth movement of these drugs.
You're also not saying that an investigation would and should have happened on that day in Aeroton, on the scene, done and completed and gotten all the answers. You're not suggesting that. Because
Commissioner?
You're not saying that the investigation should have happened on that day, on the scene, all these answers obtained, who the drugs belong to, and all of those answers closing, basically getting the answers that you say they should have gotten. And because that did not happen, because the General Khans and others arrived,
yes,
you're not saying that was the end of it. I mean, an investigation is ongoing, right? It's not just on the day at the scene.
No.
So when you say their conduct on the day at the scene constitutes defeating the ends of justice because they prevented these questions, they prevented getting answers to this and that, you're limiting it to the day as if an investigation is just that one day and that would have been the end of it. Can you maybe just explain?
Commissioner, I'm saying that because of, with them arresting these four, they are shifting the whole focus of getting the real owner of the drugs into these four people.
Do you know that by now, by the time you write your report, you know Mahano is not an investigator of narcotics. You know that. You know that Mashaba is not an investigator of this kind of stuff. You know that.
Yes.
You know Nku has nothing to do with all of this.
Yes.
So unless you are saying the defeating of the ends of justice happened on that day, if that's what you're saying, I can see. I may have problems with you saying that, but I can see that you limit it to the facts on the day itself. And then you say an investigation would have been done on the day, all the answers obtained, and you frustrated that happening on the day, and therefore you defeated the ends of justice. I can see that. But if you accept that an investigation would have been an ongoing process, how do you get, and I've given you the fact of Mahano is not an investigator. He had no business to be there beyond that one day. Mashaba is not SEPS. He's not SANEP. He has no business to be there beyond that day if he ever had a business at all. Nku is a supposed informer, so he's completely irrelevant to conducting an investigation, as in he can be one of the personnel. How do you get to there was a defeating of the ends of justice as if it started and ended on the day itself? It wasn't going to happen to be a continuing process.
Okay. Commissioners, the police were supposed to have opened an inquiry because at that particular time, at the crime scene, nobody knew as to the owner of the said drugs or the said packages. So, but for them to arrest people without having information, I took it as if they knew who the owner was of the drugs, but because of these first four disturbed their own mission, the police mission, or whoever drugs belongs to, now they must punish these first four with arrest.
Were you told that one of the SAPS people that arrived asked about an inquiry number and Pakula said, "We don't need that. I don't need that. I don't have time for that." When he was asked, where is an inquiry number?
I don't remember.
Well, there is evidence like that Pakula, I think it is Pakula, but it's one of the Mahano party of people who said, I didn't have time and there's no time for that. This is an urgent operation. So you should be actually charging Pakula for not getting an inquiry number because they're the first people on the scene. And that's what we've learned from the evidence, that the people that do the drug bust, they are the ones that arrange for the registering of an inquiry number. So you seem also now to be blaming the wrong people for not having an inquiry number when in fact Pakula and Mahano, as the first responders on the scene, should have gotten that inquiry number. But that you may not be aware of that evidence, but that's the evidence that we've had.
No, I'm not aware.
Okay, thank you.
Director, before we conclude, the difficulty with all of this is if you look at page 10, paragraph 37 of the statement, which is where you were. They opened the container, black bags fell out, the police officer says it's drugs. Instruct that they be loaded in the Nissan Baki, the tall one starts taking out cable ties and arresting people. There's something seriously wrong with that. Because first of all, you cordon off the scene, you call the right people, they put whatever it is that is found there in exhibit bags, it gets booked in, within 7 days it must go to FSL, which must determine that this is drugs. Then the investigation continue and you can arrest people for being in possession of drugs.
That's true.
Here, you're just seeing black bags. For all you know, it could be powder milk. It could be soap. You've got somebody who's only ever arrested people for dacha, deciding that these are drugs and arresting the driver and arresting the manager. You don't do that.
Yeah.
So the mere fact that they had done that was improper to begin with. So it's not shifting blame. As Commissioner Baloy correctly points out, the investigation does not start and end on the 9th of July. Maybe after 10 days, once it was determined that these were drugs, then the investigation would go back to the driver and the warehouse manager and all those people. And then they become suspects because you've determined that these are drugs. And then you take their statements and possibly they can be arrested. But the way it was done, where containers fall out, bags fall out of a container, they are put in a Nissan Baki and somebody already decides, based on how the bags smell, that these are drugs, was improper. So the simple point is that none of that could happen in a day. The most important thing that should have happened in that day was that the exhibits are properly secured,
Yeah.
they are booked properly, and the prescripts are followed to determine what is in those bags, so that if there's a need to arrest anybody, people can be arrested.
That's true, Commissioner.
But there can be defeating the ends of justice based on within 30 minutes bags fall out. Somebody determines that they are drugs. Somebody already determines who the drugs belong to, and somebody already determines who must be arrested. So the reason why the driver and the other people were released, or there was an instruction that they should be released, for the time being, it was because it was premature to arrest them to begin with. Now, Commissioner Baloi's point, why is that defeating the ends of justice? If the investigation is not closed on the day, it's a continuing investigation, and the very people can still be arrested on some other day, or their statements can still be taken on some other day.
Yeah, I hear you, Commissioner. On that day, no one was supposed to have been arrested.
So stopping there, releasing those people then cannot constitute defeating the ends
No.
of justice if nobody should have been arrested.
Yeah.
I would understand if the driver was a Brazilian who was leaving the country the following day, and his release would have resulted in the police never getting hold of him ever again.
Yes.
But you don't have those facts in this case.
No, I hear you, Commissioner.
So you accept Commissioner Baloi's point?
I accept. That is why even previously I indicated that when Commissioner was saying, I indicated that the arrest was prematurely for the driver, that they were not supposed to have arrested the driver because of when I interviewed the driver, it was clear that the driver didn't know about what was in the container. So I'm saying on that day, no one was supposed to have been arrested. But with them arresting the others, it seems as if they knew where these drugs were going, but they wanted to shift.
Nobody knows that it's drugs on that day.
I don't follow that logic.
Oh, okay. I'll stop where I'm saying nobody was supposed to have been arrested on that day. Okay. Okay.
Leave it there.
Okay.
Assistant Director, just to round off the point by Commissioner Baloi, on page 5 of your statement, at paragraph 18.5, I'll just read that into the record.
Okay.
So 18.5, it says, a police officer who was later known to them as Warrant Officer Rikhotso arrived and had an argument with Warrant Officer Pakula. Warrant Officer Rikhotso did not want them to open a case, but to open an inquiry file. Warrant Officer Pakula refused, and he was then told that General Khan was on his way. So this is just to bring to attention that the issue of the inquiry file was raised between Rikhotso and Pakula saw no need to pursue that. And I suppose to round off the last conversation you had with Commissioner Khumalo is that we then accept that what if you say that no one was supposed to be arrested, we can accept that you were not investigating a case of unlawful arrest in this case.
No, IP does not have mandate to investigate unlawful arrest.
Yes. Can we then move to paragraph 42? The topic is statements of...
Sorry, oh, you're starting a new heading now.
Yes, Chair.
Statements of sub-stock unit members.
Yes, Chair.
Let's do that tomorrow. Let's adjourn and resume at 9:30 tomorrow.